Welcome to the Value of Recruitment podcast with me, John Brooks. Sponsored by Atlas, the recruitment platform helping you become an AI-powered recruiter. This week, my guest is Leo Hewett, founder of Core3, a finance and accountancy recruitment agency based in Bristol. In the podcast, we talk about how Leo has built a purpose-driven business, putting people, planet, and progress first. Leo shares some of the many ways that Core3 differentiates themselves from the competition and how important it is to take time to build trust with clients in order to be treated as a partner, not a provider. We also talk about how Core3 get clients involved with their charitable giving and how those tangible outcomes act as a kind of loyalty scheme for ongoing business. Leo has some fascinating views on the psychology of adding value for clients and how recruitment as an industry can become more valued. Enjoy the show. I hope you find it valuable. Leo, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me on, John.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you. Now, I'm really excited to talk to you about your views on recruitment. You've in the couple of years since you've launched Core3, it feels like you've tried to achieve everything. So I really kind of want your views on what was most impactful for you and why you did all those things. Mm-hmm. But let's kick off with the big question. How valuable is recruitment in your eyes?
I think it's everything, really. If you think about people, they are the lifeblood of any organization. And the people that you hire have a huge impact on your business, your growth potential, and I guess most importantly, your culture. So if you get that wrong, then it can unravel quite quickly. And something always resonates with me. I think I went on a training course once about culture, and they say, culture eats strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it's so true. So if you get the people wrong, then strategy means nothing. So I think really if you get recruitment right, then the people and the business should flourish. So I think it's really, really vital for any business.
Yeah, I think that's a great message, and that's one I want to keep telling recruiters and keep telling our clients as well. Mm-hmm. Now you're second gen recruitment.
Yeah.
So your mum still runs an agency, I believe.
She's actually sold it to my sister now, and one of her other directors over at Hewett Recruitment. Yeah. So she retired. It's just after the pandemic, actually. So a couple of years ago now.
Cool. But you grew up with recruitment in the family. So I'm intrigued, your background, you didn't immediately go into recruitment. So what drew you back to recruitment? Why did you choose to come back into the fold?
Yeah, interesting one, really. During uni, I did events and marketing, and I was running club nights and festivals and all sorts of events for a few years after graduating. And I got really about as senior as I could in that career path. I was UK head of marketing for a small events company, and the next step up for me was, founder, and they weren't going anywhere. So I reached a bit of a plateau in terms of progression. So I went traveling with my now wife and thought about what I wanted to do with my life. And I love the marketing side because I really enjoy that sort of creative side or using the creative side of my brain. And I was almost always cautious of recruitment because I wanted to challenge my brain. I didn't outside looking in, I didn't think it would be intellectually stimulating enough, just bashing the phone all day, calling through candidates, filling jobs. And believe it or not, although I grew up with it with mum, I had no understanding whatsoever of what recruitment was, really. I mean, when I did work experience for mum, I was sat there laminating membership cards for her candidates for something she was promoting, and really didn't understand it. But I guess the values that she's embedded in me are all things which play to my strengths in recruitment, and her personality type, and how, she was always that sort of networker, that connector, always focused on relationships first, always did the right thing from a values perspective, is probably what I align to the most. So when I went traveling, I was thinking, what should I do? I thought, well, Mum's made a good job of it. We're pretty similar. We're pretty similar personalities. A lot of my friends also had gone into recruitment and they were doing really, really well. And they kept saying, Leo, you'd be class at this, give it a go. And I was still apprehensive. But when I got back from traveling, I joined Michael Page and just gave it a go, really, and just thought, what have I got to lose? Because I was looking at career progression, and where could I, at the time, my main motivation was progression and earning potential, which obviously changes as you get older, but that was it at the time. And I could see no other career path where within 3 years you could achieve what you could achieve in recruitment. So I thought, why not give it a go? And the rest is history. It surprised me in the end.
Yeah. Well, let's talk more about what surprised you. Yeah. It's interesting because whether it's people considering to take recruitment as a career, or more importantly for me, clients looking at recruitment and understanding or thinking they understand what recruiters do. From the outside, what you're saying is, oh, it looks like it's just laminating cards and bashing the phones.
Yeah.
How would you describe it now? Now you've worked at Page and other places and set up on your own?
Well, for me, I guess I'm quite lucky because I've always worked in quite relationship focused recruitment businesses. They're, Michael Page and Robert Half are not, or were not when I was there, transactional recruiters. So it was there's so much goes into it from a relationship perspective. There's so much that goes into it from a psychology perspective as well. And I studied psychology at A level, which I loved. And I'm fascinated by human nature. So really getting to understand people, what makes them tick, what motivates them, what drives them, I find quite exciting. And then from the day job perspective, because I've always worked in finance and accounting recruitment. I've managed other disciplines like tech and exec and HR and marketing at Robert Half, but finance is sort of what I grew up with and now Core3 specialize in. And I think that as a sector, it sounds boring outside looking in, stereotypical view of an accountant, but actually the people that you're dealing with are really interesting. And I think your clients are often, finance directors, CFOs, sometimes MDs of businesses. These are people who are really strategically important to the success of an organization. So when you're meeting with clients, you really have to get under the skin and under the bonnet of the business model, the growth strategy, the vision, how they generate margin, what the future looks like, all of those things. You learn an awful lot about business. So that's where, for me, the sort of the commercial acumen was developing. I felt like that intellectual stimulation was there because I was learning an awful lot about every different sector, because I've always been sector agnostic. So whether it's a charity or a bank or a tech startup, you're sort of learning so much about business in general, and that's what I really enjoy alongside the relationship side.
Nice. I love it. And as you say, finance people are critical to the success of a business. Take an easy example. If it's a startup, they're looking for funding. If they get that funding right, if they can present their finances, that could be the difference between getting a few million or tens of millions in funding. If they're looking at an exit, then managing that process right, again, could be millions of pounds difference between someone doing it really well and maybe an average candidate doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, as I said at the start, you do so much to stand out, but talk us through that. How does Core3 stand out from other agencies? I
guess the main thing that I've always focused on is trust. And, when you develop relationships, trust takes time, and trust is something that you evolve towards in your career in recruitment. I think to begin with, it can feel a little bit transactional, and over time, you build that trust, and you move from, I guess, a service provider to a trusted advisor, where you are a true partner to your clients. So that partnership way of working is something which we really, really focus on at all levels. And then from a values perspective, our whole ethos is about giving back and doing the right thing. So we're a B Corp business. We give 3% of our revenue back to our local community and to the environment. And that's about 10 to 15% of our profit. When we're building like we were in year 2 and we're investing heavily in headcount, then that was closer to 40% of our profit in that year. So it's a huge commitment. But that sets us apart because we're not just about the bottom line. We're here to make a difference. And that then rings true in our culture, our people, our values, how we behave. We're not here to ram a square peg in a round hole to make a quick buck. We're here for the long term, the relationship, and to really provide value. And I guess the value then is the third thing, is what sets us apart beyond just placing candidates, and how can we build a community that is meaningful and that gives back to the finance population that we work with. So we're building a lot of communities for finance directors, for CFOs. We've built a mentorship program for aspiring finance leaders. We're doing quite a lot to really try to be more than just your talent partner. It's sort of creating something that is really sticky, where clients and candidates find so much value as being a part of the Core3 community.
Yeah, I love the way those three things work together. So you really want to build that trust. I think a lot of progressive recruiters want to move away from the transactional approach.
Yeah.
Or especially the perception that they are transactional. But yeah, that building that trust, as you say, takes time. Now, you've got two ways to do that. You've got that commitment. You're not just some superficial thing of like, oh, we'll give a little bit of our final profits away. That statement of saying, look, we're going to give away a large chunk of our profit to charities. And I want to talk more about that in a minute. And then that commitment that you're giving to the community, obviously that fosters trust, but that also signals to your clients that, hey, they should commit to you.
Yeah, I think it also builds, where we've got relatively new consultants in Core3 who haven't, got the tenure in their market or relationships as long as some of us. I think the brand, the ethos, the B Corp badge, what we're doing and our values sort of builds trust quite quickly in a world where trust is lost, especially in the recruitment sector. Our sector has a bad name, which is a shame. And I don't think it's just in most cases, but it's the minority that let the majority down. So I think it definitely does help with winning trust earlier by being a very values-driven, purpose-orientated company.
Yeah. So to talk kind of commercial mindset for a minute, does the approach you're taking help you win more business?
Yeah, definitely. I think there are a lot of purpose-driven businesses that gravitate towards us. So B Corps want to work with other B Corps, and purpose-driven businesses focusing on sustainability, charities. But there's also even businesses that aren't of that ilk. We won't work with companies that are damaging the planet or draining its resources, but most companies don't do that. So even companies that aren't outwardly B Corps or charities, I think it's quite a breath of fresh air because it is genuine. We are here to help, and those values run deep into the behaviors of all of our consultants. So it just feels different when you're working with us, and when we're doing that initial pitch, it does really stand out. So we have won, considerably more business off the back of it. And I think from a pricing perspective, we're not the cheapest, and the sustainable, responsible choice never is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like when you buy anything that is recycled or sustainable packaging or organic or whatever, it does come with a premium, but you get the quality in return for that, and also it's good from an ESG standpoint.
Yeah. No, I like that you're providing so many signals to clients. I think a lot of recruiters, it sounds like, are interested in B Corp. I also hear that it sounds like a lot of work to achieve that.
Yeah.
What's important though is that sometimes you have to do that work to signal your commitment. Otherwise we just rely on words. So we say, oh, we believe in the planet, or oh, we like our community of finance people. And it's like, well, everyone could say that. So no one stands out. So actually, because you've done the hard work and either got that B Corp certification or built those big long-term communities, you can say, look, it's not just words. We actually prove we are who we say we are.
Yeah, and I think we put our money where our mouth is as well. In the 2 years that we've now been operating, we've given back £50,000 to our community and the environment. We've planted over 20,000 trees. We've removed over 400 tons of carbon from the atmosphere. So we've got a lot of evidence-based facts, and then that pound value we can break down into actually how many people has that helped. So our vision is to help impact 1 million lives by creating opportunity that build legacy. And I think with recruitment, obviously, you can always impact lives with the people that you place and the clients that you're helping and the weight that you're taking off their shoulders and their families. And, it extends beyond just the placement. But then I've specifically chosen the charity partners that we use that are all local, all from Bristol, all, small enough for me to have relationships with their CEOs, where we really understand, okay, how much does a pound go? How far does a pound go? So we can break down that £50,000 into, we've helped over 700 kids in Bristol from deprived areas get access to after school clubs and live active, happy, healthy lives through sport. We've helped support over 120 16 to 25s from ethnic minorities get access to mentorship and opportunities to achieve their goals in life. And so it's like, things like that are just really, really tangible. And then the B Corp is almost just that badge that sort of then holds us accountable on a daily basis. We're audited on it every 3 years. We have to prove through evidence of 250 different questions that we are walking the walk and we're doing what we're saying we're doing. So I think if you combine those things, it does run really deep, and the B Corp thing definitely helps. I think if you're a supplier or if you're a buyer and you're looking for a supplier at the moment in business, there's not many things like if you went to pick up a jar of coffee, you look for the fair trade badge. There's nothing like that in business close to B Corp really as an alternative. So to save yourself doing days of due diligence on that supplier, asking for evidence, doing it all yourself, the B Corp badge just gives you that assurance that they've been through a really, really rigorous process, and hopefully everything they're saying is authentic. Don't get me wrong, there are businesses out there that are B Corp that also let the side down. There always will be in any walk of life, but for the most part, you wouldn't go through all that effort if you didn't really believe in it, I'd like to think.
Yeah. Well, and you've certainly done that. You've just kind of planted a seed or an idea. Would it be valuable in your eyes to have that kind of badge for recruitment? There are so many recruitment agencies. It's a real minefield for clients. B Corp is a great overall badge, but would that be useful to have in recruitment?
I think B Corp is just a really good path to go down because it's industry agnostic, and the evidence that you provide you tailor to your sector. So it is really relevant to the recruitment sector as well. And I think because it is so trusted, so globally recognized and regarded, even though it's still only 0.03% of UK companies are B Corps. So we've got a way to go. And there are still people out there that never heard of B Corps. But it's still the most recognized, most reputable one that you could choose. So I think it's better to continue to build that movement than try and start something else.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah, and there's risks if we set something up for recruitment by recruitment, and then clients say, "Oh, yeah, you would say that, wouldn't you?"
Yeah, and I think because B Lab is a not for profit, it's very much non-bias in any way. I think that adds a lot of weight to it as well.
Nice. So you'd recommend it?
Yeah, definitely.
Sticking on charity for a minute, I was interested to see. So you've got the three charities you support, and I love their local and their people focus, tangible in terms of people, which is great from a recruiter. You give your clients the choice of where their donation goes.
Yeah, that's right. So after every placement, we send them almost a menu of our three charity partners. Each one is assigned to the three pillars of our purpose, which are people, planet, and progress. So for people, we use the Bristol Sport Foundation. For planet, we work with Ecology, who are Bristol-based but operate globally. And then for progress, we work with Babasa, who are basically a social mobility charity who help disadvantaged people get access to opportunities. And they get to, then we break down what that 3% of the fee is in a pound and pence value, put that in the menu as well. So you can choose, £350 to Babasa, £350 to Bristol Sport Foundation, or plant 750 trees and remove 20 tons of carbon with Ecology. And then below that, we show, the £350 will fund X number of kids through after school clubs or X number of young people through Babasa's mentor program. So it's really tangible and they get to feel it. And I think for us, that's been a great follow up again to sort of really hammer home at the authenticity of what we're doing and that we are doing what we promised, and the client gets to choose and see that impact, which builds over time. If you've got a relationship where you're placing 20 candidates a year, that really, really ramps up, and we start to see some great partnerships where we've had such a huge impact just with one client. And then the same with the consultants. So they feel it with every single placement, which is quite different. So you're not just, tracking your billings and your bonus and things like that. You're also tracking, how many kids have I helped? How many young people? How many trees have I planted? It's quite different.
Yeah, I like that. I've looked at various loyalty schemes in the past that recruitment agencies run, but actually for those clients who've got multiple roles, they're coming back to you, I guess, because you're creating that loyalty because they're seeing the impact that they're making. Obviously, you're placing good people with them, but they're then getting that extra loyalty of saying, "Oh, I've planted more trees, and that's growing." So that's a really nice feedback loop for loyal clients.
Yeah, I think fundamentally the process and the delivery has to be excellent at first and foremost. So the quality of the service is what will dictate whether or not they'll use us again. But then, the impact as it builds, as long as we don't, put a foot out of line and we always deliver, then, that builds and that grows, and it does become really sticky from that perspective as well.
Yeah. Well, if you've got a loyalty card in a shop, Boots or something, you obviously go to the shop because they've got a good product, but that stickiness or that repeat business comes from thinking, oh, I get a little bit back in some way.
Yeah.
I like that. The psychology of choice is so powerful. I mean, I talk a lot about agencies should offer a choice of services to their clients. Mm-hmm. And it's the same with the charity options you're offering. If you went in and said, "Oh, we're planting trees for you," there's no engagement there. There's no conversation. You're just saying, "Oh, we're doing something," And the client says, oh, fine. Yeah, I don't really need to connect to this conversation. You're just telling me something. Whereas that psychology of choice, you say, oh, what's important to you? And that's amazing to ask someone that question, because then they lean in, they engage, they say, oh, actually, that's a great point. Maybe I hadn't thought about it before. Or maybe social mobility is key to my heart and I really want to do everything I can to support that. So it completely changes the conversation from being a one-way, you talking at them, here are some trees, to engaging them in a really high-value two-way conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, we can do that with services as well, rather than going in and saying, oh, I'll recruit that role. You can say, well, what's important to you? Which way do you want to recruit this role? So it's really powerful. You touched on the recruitment process. I mean, we've talked a lot about everything around the recruitment process in making Core3 different and making Core3 stand out. But in terms of the process itself, filling roles, what do you do that's different? What do you do that adds value to your clients?
I think for us, we apply a search methodology to contingent recruitment. So we'll always take the time to map out the market, systematically approach the candidates that are right, meet every single candidate, meet every client. We won't work a job until we've met the client. And we have a 7-step process, which is on our website. But you've got the usual sort of discovery phase first, and you're really understanding, the culture, the business, what they're all about. But then we work quite hard to build their employer brand and what is their EVP. So why work for this company? What makes you different? How do you stand out from the crowd? What do the people that have worked for you for 5-10 years say is the reason why they're there for so long? So we're trying to sort of be a cheerleader for our clients in the market where it's a really competitive market. And so part of that, and it's not standard, we do this as like optional extras, but I love doing it because of my marketing background. But we do, video content, interview the CEO, the CFO, the HRD, learning about the vision, the role, the culture, what that looks like. We've built microsites and landing pages as a destination for the candidates to go and explore more about the company and the role and what it's all about, because a lot of companies don't have good careers pages. So I think that's quite different. We think quite creatively about it, and then we make the effort to dig deep into the passive market, which we actually do, which is way more labor intensive because it is, I hate the word, but it's a headhunt approach. It's a search approach. You're finding the hard to find. But then when we do that, rather than just swimming in the active market, which is about 21% of the candidate population in finance, you have way more reliability, because if you manage to draw out a candidate from the passive market, they're not just applying to any old job. They're going to be really motivated for the right reasons for this role. Therefore, they're not going to drop out of interviews. They're not going to not show up on their first day, and hopefully once they're in, they'll stay. So our retention rates are really good as a result of that. Whereas in the active market, which is where, if you advertise a job or you just swim in the job boards, they're being ranked by 5-6 agencies or direct hirers at any one point, and often they're active for a reason. They want a job. They're miserable where they are. They just want out. So the motivations and the reasons and the why is often misaligned, and they can just go for the highest bidder, and then the retention rate might not be there because they haven't gone for the role that's really aligned to them. They haven't taken their time with their search. And don't get me wrong, sometimes you get some gems in the active market, but the passive market is closer to 45% of the talent pool. So not only is it more than double the size, the quality and the reliability is better in general. So that's where we focus all our time, effort, and energy. And then we meet all of the candidates that are relevant, make sure the cultural fit's right. And the process itself we're not reinventing the wheel. We aim for 5 to 6 first stage interviews, 2 to 3 second stages. And then once they're in, we focus on aftercare, take them out for lunch, solidify those relationships during their notice period. Once they're started, check in with them regularly to make sure they're happy. Simple as that, really. It's not rocket science.
It's a fascinating point there. It may feel simple, although, as you said earlier, for people outside looking in, they don't see that. They don't understand it. But also getting that right, there's a lot to what you've just said, and therefore there's a lot that can go wrong. So actually getting that right, delivering it, and getting the packaging all of that up for our clients, I think is hugely valuable.
I think a lot of it, I mean, comes from the initial discovery meeting, the brief, or the job brief, whatever you want to call it. There are so many recruiters out there that act in a master servant way, and they just yes sir, no sir, okay, you want a finance director for 50k, yeah, I'm going to go find one. Whereas a true partner or consultant will say, well, actually, the market is dictating this. This is the average salary, in industries of your businesses of your size. Have you thought about maybe flexing the salary, or lowering your expectations on what sort of candidates that we'll be able to find, and sort of really doing that pushback right at the beginning, so you get it right first time. So there's a lot of consulting that goes on, throughout that 7-step process, whether it's with the client or with the candidate, managing expectations, asking the questions you don't want to hear the answers to, all of that side of things, which nobody ever sees as well, I guess.
Yeah, and maybe from an insider recruitment perspective, everything you're talking about takes time. Now, some recruitment agencies are very focused on KPIs, getting things in quickly, getting deals done quickly. When you're talking about adding value, whether it's at the brief, whether it's making sure you meet every one of your clients, whether it's understanding the why, whether it's interviewing the CEO, building those marketing assets, and then doing that proper search, that time-consuming search, you can see why that's difficult. It would be tempting either as a business owner or as a recruitment consultant to say, "Oh, I'll skip that. I'll take a shortcut here. I'll take a shortcut there." But it sounds like you do all of those things right, and it pays off for you.
Well, I just believe in it so much, because I've had experience of both exec search and contingent, and I've seen it done right and wrong. And we have it a lot when people join Core3, and we talk them through our method and how we do it, and you see them sort of struggling initially to sort of get in to the level of the quality of the detail that we want to. And there's loads of bad habits, and it takes time. And I had it the other day, someone who's recently joined us from another agency was prepping a candidate for an interview, and the level of prep, when he got off that call, I just said, do you think that you've given everything in your power to give that candidate the best possible chance? And it's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, you haven't necessarily tested, whether or not they're going to have the answers to the questions. You haven't asked them, what questions they're going to ask, what their understanding of the business is. You haven't necessarily given them loads of pointers about the business, the growth, the aspirations, the values, where they're going. All of these things that can help them prepare and be their best self for that interview. And I think it's just like, where I come from, I'm just used to working at pace and speed, and it's go, go, go. And I'm like, yeah, but think about how long it's taken you to find that candidate, right? You've done the search, 7 messages back and forth. You finally got, the meeting with them. You've talked them through their aspirations, their career, what they want. You've matched them to an opportunity where maybe you nurtured that relationship for 3 months before you find this job to finally get them. Then you shortlist them. You write the blurb for the client, a really nice overview. You've formatted the CV. You've done all of that work, and now you've got them an interview. It's like, and you spent 5 minutes prepping them. If you spent 20 minutes prepping them, you will double your chances of filling that job. you'll double your chances of that candidate getting that job. So all of that, I think people perceive time in the wrong way sometimes in recruitment. It's like, yeah, speed, go, but the quality things are the things that matter. And when it comes to conversion rates and helping candidates succeed and helping clients find the right match for the job, if you don't get into the detail, you're just working blind. You might as well just spray and pray CVs and just see, hope what sticks on the wall. And I think, unfortunately, there are a lot of agencies that do work in that way, and I guess they survive. But with the world of AI around the corner, there's no place for that. That'll just get replaced.
Yeah, I agree. There is certainly a business model, almost kind of the Ryanair model of do things as cheaply as possible. What you don't want to get caught up in is trying to do most things well. So all of that search, all of that engagement, as you say, and then rush a bit that reduces your quality or reduces the outcome. Mm-hmm. What's interesting, what I hear from that is you're saying if you want to offer a high quality, high value service, you really have to commit. You really have to go all in. You can't say, oh, we'll market the role really nicely, but then rush a different part. Mm. Actually, every part of the process has to be done well. Otherwise, you've wasted that time. You might have attracted great candidates, but then they don't perform well at interview, or they don't get selected, or the retention rate is poor.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing in a way for people who want to set up businesses doing this. You say, right, let's commit to doing everything right, and we will be AI proof. We won't lose business to transactional recruiters because we are just high value, high quality at every step of the way.
Yeah. And, it's something you've got to constantly work on, because you can't just say this is how we work and then expect everybody to follow it, because it's different. It's effort. It's much more consultative. It's much more high touch. So there is a steep learning curve for people that join Core3, but they end up being much better recruiters at the end of it.
Yeah, I think we should expect a steep learning curve. Again, if it was easy, people might think it's easy from the outside. But if it was easy and you were up and running in 2 months, then actually where's the quality there? Again, an AI bot could probably do it as quicker, or what my next question is, I think we've touched on some of this, but my next question is, how do we make recruitment more valuable for clients, or get clients to value it more?
So I think it goes back to trust. I think that's the biggest underlying thing that sometimes is lost in recruitment, which clients really value. They want to work with people where they can look in the whites of their eyes and trust that this candidate is a good fit for them, and they're not going to waste their time sending a load of people that aren't right. And that they're working in their best interests, both candidates and clients. So I think that's a big one. I think for us, we've noticed that having a social environmental impact is valuable for clients. Not all, not everybody cares about that, but a lot of people do. So that's a good one where, working with us can improve their own social environmental impact in their supply chain. I think the employer brand thing is massive. I think, you've got to think differently about how you're bringing your client's story out to the market. It's not just a job ad. There are so many things, and a lot of it comes down to effective questioning and really understanding, why it's a great company to work for. But then creative ways of helping them really stand out and becoming, all things people and culture. I see in the future, recruitment should not just be a job filler. It should be a people consultancy, where they can help with employer brand, they can help with culture, they can help with HR, they can help with recruitment as well. But I think as AI develops, you have to diversify and you have to become more than just one service offering. You have to become a real valuable partner. And then I think the last thing is the communities, and like we're building with the Inner Circle at the moment is, how do you create something that is really engaging for your audience where they value it? So we have FD roundtables where we get finance directors around a table every quarter just to share what they're going through, their challenges, their opportunities, because it's lonely at the top. They don't get to talk to people about all this stuff, really. They're on their own as the number one in finance. The last one we did, the attendees said it felt like a therapy session, and it's great. And off the back of it, now we have a WhatsApp group where they're all continuing to talk and they're engaging in the community two-way. So that creates something really valuable beyond just an event. And the mentorship programs, how we develop the next generation, how we really make an impact to people's careers beyond just finding them a job. We're coaching them, we're mentoring them, we're setting them up with CFOs who have been there and done it. And other communities like Women in Finance, communities for LGBTQ, communities for Black and ethnic minorities within finance again. So again, you'll really start being the conversation starter. So when clients ask, what are you doing from a DEI perspective? Well, we've built a community where we talk about it. We address the issues. We also work with Babasa to help social mobility and drive change. And, it's, again, beyond just the words, it's action. And all of these things, it sounds like, oh my God, these are so many different things to think about. But it's all commercially valuable as well, because they're great reasons to call. They're great things to approach clients about. We're building this community. Are you interested? It's different to saying, have you got any jobs, which every other recruiter does. And then, along the way, it sort of really does build that trust towards that trusted partner that we all strive for. So they're the sort of four main things. I think it's trust, impact, employer brand, and communities.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that kind of the thread running through all of that is that we as recruiters are in a position to bring people together, whether it's in those communities or the mentorships or some of the other things.
Yeah.
We don't always realize that, like you say, it's lonely at the top. Who is connecting those people? Well, as you said at the start, your skills are relationship building, networking. So you know how to bring those people together. Those people want to be brought together. They want to share their challenges. And often there aren't the
vehicles,
the forums, or the opportunities to do that. Exactly.
Yeah, and we had it recently with we're doing a tech CFO network in September, which is again another roundtable, but we partnering with a corporate finance house who invest in tech scale ups and do the fundraising for them, and then also Tech Spark, which is almost an incubator hub, tech hub for the Southwest. And you'd think that between corporate finance house and a Tech Spark, that organizing something like this would be quite easy. But they've been trying to do it for quite some time, and busyness gets the better of all of us. And they've got bigger fish to fry than organizing a roundtable or a network like that. Whereas for us, we're speaking to CFOs every day, and we want reasons to call. We've got an army of sales people there that want to have conversations, and good conversations. So, we can turn things around like that quite easily in recruitment because we've got the relationships in place, we've got the networks, so that it's real value, which I think a lot of people forget, really. And the events themselves are great fun to run, and they don't have to be anything overly convoluted. You don't have to have a keynote speaker. You don't have to have a big spread. We had croissants and coffee, and I just went around the table and said, everyone share their challenges and on opportunities that they're facing at the moment. And then we had, a talking point which was geared from the attendees, that we got them to do a survey in advance of, what are the things that you really want to get out of this. So then that was the discussion topic. That was it. It doesn't.
Yeah,
but they loved it, and it doesn't have to be more than that.
Yeah, I got some innovative recruitment leaders in a room recently. Got them together over lunch. So it's a small group. Really interesting discussion. Nothing more than saying, let's come to lunch. Let's share how we do things differently, how we see recruitment going, where is the value. The main feedback, the only kind of criticism, was the lunch was a bit posh.
Yeah.
So look, someone said, look, it was so valuable, I'd have done it over Greg's.
Yeah.
The food doesn't matter. It's the value comes from that connection and that sharing of insights. And clearly you get a group of CFOs in the room, they've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's really good.
I like it. We'll touch briefly on negotiation before we wrap up. Now, negotiation in a way is about defending our value. Clients have every right to say, oh, can you do that a bit cheaper? And we try not to reduce our fees too much. Now, everything you've said has been high value, clearly valued by your clients. So what do you do, and perhaps what do your more junior consultants do when a potential client says, yeah, I'll work with you if you bring your fee down? How do you negotiate with that?
I think if they're asking that at the end, you haven't done a good enough pitch or meeting. So we work a lot with the client, with the consultants, on how it's all about the setup. You have to prepare, you have to go in really well read on the company, the person that you're meeting. We have a structure to our discovery meeting where we're really understanding, the role, the culture, the requirements. Then we have a deck where we talk through our 7-step process, what it means, why we do it, what the success rate, how it improves by 50% when you work in this way. When we work on a retained basis, our fill rate is 95%. When we work on an exclusive basis, it's 80%, and when we work on a multi-agency basis, it's 33%. So we rarely work multi-agency jobs, but we have the stats there to back up, why you should work with us in a certain way, and how our method is proven. And it, when you work the Core3 way, there's a 95% success rate. So by the time you get to that point and you've described the process and all of these things that we talked about today around value and what we do to deliver, by the time you get to the slide, which is our pricing or their investment, as we describe it, it's less of a question mark, because our pricing is fair. It's not crazy. We don't start at 30% and then, the client goes in at 15 and we hope to sort of, work somewhere in the middle. We just have 2 pricing tiers. We keep it really simple. We have one pricing structure for most clients, and then we do 10% off for purpose-driven businesses that are making an impact. That's it. So we have those 2 pricing structures in place, and they're fair for the quality that we deliver. And by the time we get to the end, usually they're like, okay, that makes sense. So I think if a client's trying to bash you down after all of that, then you've probably done something wrong in the setup. Unless you're just trying to pitch crazy pricing, which nobody's going to agree to, I think.
Yeah. I think, a phrase I use a lot is you've got to build the demand. You've got to have the client saying, yes, I want to work with you.
Yeah, I like that.
Before you pitch your price or before you pitch for a retainer, whatever the commitment is from the client. Again, it comes back to, if we're always in a rush, if it feels transactional, we're like, oh, great, I'll work that role. My fee's 30%.
Yeah.
We've not built any demand there. We've just said, I'd like to work the role. The client has no interest or belief or trust, as you say. But when you've created that demand, when that trust is there, they say, actually, we want to work with you. We will pay the price that you put on your services because we want that service.
Yeah.
That's the reason Apple don't have to discount, is because a large proportion of the population of the world say we want an Apple product.
But they also start with why, don't they? So it's like the Simon Sinek Golden Circle, how they are similar to how Core3 explain our purpose and our process. We start with why first, and then we work our way out to the what and the how. And then that speaks to a different part of the brain. It's the limbic brain that that sort of controls emotion, controls gut feeling, and if your gut's telling you it's right, then it probably is right. Do you know what I mean? So it's not that you're not dealing with the rational mind if you can communicate with why. So I think that's really powerful. But you're getting me into the psychology, human nature side of now, and you don't get me started. But I think with I think you're right. I think it is, if you can demonstrate the value and have the luxury of doing that, then it should be a no-brainer. The worst situations for negotiation, which still happen to us all the time, is it's managed by HR or internal recruitment. They send you an email and they say our terms are 16%. We want you to work the job, but can you agree to this? And you're just like, well, we haven't even met you yet. You know nothing about us and our proposition. You're just asking for 16% before even exploring further. And sometimes it's a take it or leave it situation. And often we leave it because, we hold firm to the quality that we can deliver. And if we start working in that way, it's just a race to the bottom.
Yeah. I mean, if someone, if you were shopping for cars and you said, right, I've got a £20,000 budget, and then you called up a load of different car manufacturers and said, will you give me a car for £20,000?
Yeah.
Clearly the BMWs, the Mercedes, the Teslas are going to say, yeah, that's not us. You are looking for a different product, or in our case, a different service than you're budgeting for. Yeah. And as you say, there is a real risk of a race to the bottom if everyone jumps on that.
And it's just, if you look at going back to your question right at the start, how critical is recruitment and how important are people to businesses? If you're so concerned about cost rather than value, then the longer cost to your business could be much greater than the sake of 3-4% on a fee. So yeah.
And you've got those retention stats, so you're able to back that up. You're able to have that conversation with that client, with our HR person, saying, look, the cost is clear. Redo your sums and we're here if you need us.
Yeah.
Well, you said it's not rocket science. I think we got pretty close to brain surgery at the end with different parts of the brain and how clients react to us. So thank you so much for your time, Leo. You will create huge value for your clients, and it's fascinating to hear how you do that and the outcomes for your business and beyond.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, John.
Cheers, Leo. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks again to Leo for sharing his approach to high-value recruitment. 3 things stood out for me. First, the importance of taking time to develop trust with clients. And that doesn't just mean building a relationship at the start. He invests time in every step of the process in order to get a good outcome for everyone. Second, and related to building trust, is the importance of creating a demand for your services. Once you've taken the time to get clients wanting to work with you, negotiating on price becomes much less of an issue. And third, the commercial benefit of standing out. In Leo's case, by building a really strong values and communities. And both of these are done in a really engaging way. So it's not just lip service. Clients and candidates feel involved in the Core3 way, which leads to more business opportunities. If you found the show valuable, please leave a review and remember to subscribe or follow the show on your podcast app. You can also get more insights and inspiration by signing up to my added value emails on Substack. You can find the link in the show notes. Now, go create some value. Thank you to Atlas for sponsoring the Value of Recruitment podcast. To learn more about how Atlas is creating an AI platform that helps recruitment agencies generate more placements with less effort, visit recruitwithatlas.com.